Daniel Warren Johnson has written and drawn quite a few different comic books over the past few years. On this channel, he's most known for his continued work on Transformers, which has recently been hitting an all-time high of hype in the community. But Johnson's style, both artistically and literary, have been going strong since the beginning when he first released Space Mullet online in 2017. Only a year later, he released Murder Falcon to the scene. So Murder Falcon is kind of crazy. You take one look at this cover and think to yourself one of two things. Either hell yes, or this looks kind of silly. And to my surprise, both are true. You see, I'm new to collecting comics, and some of the more out there ideas still shock me from time to time. Sure, you can have novels that tackle grand ideas and crazy concepts, but in the form of a comic book, you can really dive into the world of the unknown. I will say that had I not already been reading Johnson's Transformers series, I probably would have never picked up Murder Falcon, and I do think that that is a shame. Because Murder Falcon is silly. It's a ridiculous idea, but the story it holds beneath its fantastical visuals is one that everyone should be aware of. You expect the insane heavy metal drawings of the characters as they blast music to the world, but what you don't expect is the literary gut punch that Johnson provides. We may know now that he can pull off some amazing moments from Transformers, but seeing him do it here, earlier in his career, is such a treat, as again, I wasn't reading comics back in 2018. I'm sure when they announced that he would be handling Transformers, everyone knew what he would bring to the table. But for people like myself, if you love Johnson's storytelling from Transformers, then you're robbing yourself of an amazing time by not reading this comic book. Murder Falcon follows Jake, a retired metalhead who has recently gone through some troubling times in his life and is just trying to make ends meet. He's at rock bottom. And while we will find out later why, what's more important in the moment is that he has plenty of musician friends who want him to pick back up his guitar and play. But he won't. Times are just too tough at the moment for him, and music no longer holds the key to his heart like it used to. Oh, also, this world is infected with kaiju-like monsters. I forgot to mention that. This is something Johnson does in actually quite a lot of his comic books that I really appreciate. Like in Transformers, where sometimes things just happen with no full explanation in the moment, such as Megatron shrinking down into the size of a gun for Starscream. In other Transformers continuities, this entire aspect is explained in so much detail with the concept of mass shifting and this and that and blah blah blah. But in Skybound Transformers, nah, it happens because it needs to. Just like in the original Generation 1 cartoon, sometimes things are goofy and unexplained, and I love that. It's not that the series isn't serious, of course not. It's just that Johnson wants to keep things moving forward. In Murder Falcon, the monsters are technically explained later in the first issue, but they just kind of show up at first. And again, I love that. I mean, after all, the cover for the first issue is a Birdman with a bandana and a robot arm. Did you think this comic was going to be normal? As it turns out, these monsters are created and controlled by an entity known as Magnum Chaos. Essentially the embodiment of anxiety, fear, and hatred. All evil thoughts and deeds that have been done throughout time have culminated into this weird-looking dude, and he's out to end the suffering of the world by enslaving it. But he's not really a physical thing. He's the embodiment of anxiety, something that Jake struggles with. And so, bullets won't kill him, but powerful emotions can. Emotions brought forth from music. Murder Falcon, or Murph as he is named, is a powerful being linked to an instrument from the Heavy, an extra-dimensional world where music takes the form of physical power. Or something like that. Again, we don't need to get into the nitty-gritty details here. Just look at these awesome drawings. Jake has to get his band, Bruticus, back together and find the remaining heavy instruments to summon other creatures to fight back Magnum Chaos and save the Earth from extinction. It's awesome. It's cool as hell. It's metal. Which is why when you get to issues 3 and 4, Johnson pulls the rug out from under your feet, and you learn why Jake is controlled by his anxiety. You see, Jake was battling through cancer. While our jaws drop with amazement at the incredible fight scenes between kaiju and woolly mammoths, we're forced to watch another battle that is all too real in our own world. We are ripped out of this fantastical land to watch Jake's band dissolve as he is unable to keep up with practice, and even harder, for his own marriage to crumble as he shuts his wife out during his treatment. Magnum Chaos is this grotesque creature that represents Jake's anxiety and fear of failure. He is drawn as this bloody mess with a singular eye peering through the void. It's ridiculous, almost insane. I was laughing at how crazy he looked when flipping through the comic's pages, but Jake's cancer? That was no laughing matter, because it is all too real in our world outside of this comic book. Something I want to be clear about is that Murder Falcon is not really about fighting cancer, but rather not letting anxiety and fear rule your life, which, in one way, is a cancer. There's so many more amazing moments and characters that show up in this comic that I am imploring you to read it. Please, it is truly amazing. But I want to fast track us to near the end of the story when Jake discovers his true power over Magnum Chaos. And it's not through physical power like his guitar or the strength of Murph, it's through his own resolve. As Magnus corrupts Jake's mind, feeding on all the insecurities, he asks him why fight back. Just give up and let go. Let the fear take over and the insecurities win. You are bound to fail over and over again. But Jake's wife, Anne, sings to him as he slowly dies from his wounds, and it sparks something in his heart. Jake pushes back against the darkness and realizes that all he needs to do in this moment to lose is to do nothing. To let fear cripple him and waste away. But screw that. I'm going to live what little life I have left. Jake awakens from the brink of death and seals his fate. He will not go gentle into that good night. And in a moment so powerful, so heavy, that I honestly still tear up thinking about it, Jake stands up and faces the truth of his circumstances. He fears no more. Not Magnum Chaos, and not cancer. Murder Falcon ends at issue number 8, with a final battle between our protagonists and the forces of darkness. The battles drawn on the page are spectacular to say the least, but just like the rest of the comic, the smaller, more intimate moments shine through. Jake and his band have been fighting to reach the Horn of Death, which they believe will raise an army of undead musicians to help finish the fight. But when the horn is blown, Jake realizes that it actually calls forth all those destined to die. Everyone on Earth is called forth to play, sing, and dance against anxiety, to accept their fates, and still choose to sing into the void, to not allow fear to cripple them, to not allow Magnum Chaos to win. This isn't the end though, as there are a few more pages of Jake's story, but I don't want to cover them in this video. I truly think you should read the full series and experience some of these moments firsthand. One that I wish I had time to cover is when Anne is given the power to unleash all of the negative emotions from her heart after watching her husband go through cancer treatment. I vividly recall jumping out of bed when reading this page and screaming, "Hell yeah!" And there are so many more moments like this in the comics, with so many amazing, fantastically written characters. Murder Falcon looks silly from the get-go, and it is. There's nothing wrong with a badass Falcon man who murders monsters with his robo-arm and machine gun-mounted backpack. Most people would dismiss this as a childish story that is just here to be eye candy, and they'd be extremely wrong, because it's more than that. It's a story about overcoming your own anxiety and singing into the void when all hope seems lost.